I'm Lexi. I'm in the US, and today we are taking a look at part 4 of our series of Let's Talk Spices, Advanced. Now, most of these things are things that I use in 1 or 2 dishes. Things that I don't really use much at all, or they're very specialized. And you know what? Maybe you aren't going to agree with what I've chosen here today, and that's okay. If some of these things are in your everyday repertoire that you reach for every day, that's fine, that's great. We just reach for different things and have different tastes, and there's nothing wrong with that. But let's take a look here. I'm going to start here because my memory is failing me, and this might have actually been in our level 2 video. And if it was, I'll probably just cut this out. And that's turmeric. The most common use of turmeric is probably in Indian food. It goes in a lot of curries. A lot of dishes use it purely to add color. It's also a fairly common nutritional supplement used to reduce inflammation, but that's not really what we're talking about here. And you can get turmeric tea as well, or like turmeric and ginger shots or something like that for wellness, or one of those things. I'm not real up on that, frankly. By itself, I honestly think it tastes a little bit like dirt, but there's some applications that it can be good in. There's like a golden chai that uses turmeric. It adds an earthiness or a depth to it, as well as that beautiful golden color. Like I said, it gets used in a lot of curries. I do a coconut milk and curry poached swordfish that uses a lot of turmeric. That's delicious. I haven't made that in a while. I need to make that again. But that is how I utilize turmeric. Worldwide, there are so many more uses. So many more. So if that one grabs your interest at all, give it a Google. I know I'm trying to present knowledge here, but I'm also not trying to overwhelm you with just a laundry list of every possible use. I just want to give you a taste of how I use these things. Well, next. This is Chinese 5-spice, which, as it suggests, comes from China. Let's see what's in Chinese 5-spice, because I only remember about 2 of them. It's got cinnamon, star anise, fennel, and clove, with the 5th ingredient varying across recipes. Some seem to use Szechuan peppercorns, some use ginger, and some uses white pepper. Wonder if I can figure out which one this uses. I'm going to say that this particular variety uses ginger. Yeah, I can taste the ginger in there. Chinese 5-spice authentically is used in savory dishes. And I am pretty sure I've done at least 1 or 2 chicken dishes that used it. But my personal favorite uses for it, I have a cookie recipe that I'm working on that is Chinese 5-spice flavored, and I think those are absolutely delicious. And I make a cherry tart that very well may end up in our signature recipe series one day. I make a cherry tart with Chinese 5-spice and rose water. And I know that that sounds like the most unusual, strangest flavor combination, but I'll tell you, this is one of my favorite desserts ever. And I only make it every few years, honestly, because pitting that many cherries is a real pain. But every time I do, I'll tell you, this tart is so good. And that is my favorite use of Chinese spice. Back on track. I gotta stop reminiscing about this tart here. Just the next one. This is cream of tartar. Not necessarily a spice or seasoning maybe. It's tartaric acid, which is scraped from wine barrels, and most commonly it is used to help stabilize meringues, but it's also an ingredient in snickerdoodles, which helps to make them nice and fluffy. I say that, but I actually don't particularly like snickerdoodles, probably because of that, because I love cinnamon. But those are probably the two most common uses for cream of tartar. Just go with the next one. We'll just keep doing that. We just won't follow a pattern at all. We'll just grab whatever the next one is. This is herbes de Provence. It is a French mix that I probably use mostly on fish, but you can use it on chicken and stuff as well. It has, well, you know what? Other than thyme and lavender, this is one I'm going to have to look up to. This was probably the first unusual spice mix that I ever bought. Okay, the mix includes thyme, fennel, savory, marjoram, rosemary, and lavender. Do I have all of those on my spice rack? Yes. Is it, again, easier to grab that? Yes. Now that I realize I have all of them, will I buy another jar when that one runs out? Maybe not, because I'm really starting to run out of room. But I don't use it as much as I used to, but that's just because my spice collection has grown and I have more options. It is something I really like. I like the lavender in it. I don't think that in America we utilize floral flavors enough. So that was kind of my introduction to myself as to how to use floral flavors in savory cooking. Speaking of lavender, I keep this around on its own. What do I use this for? Mostly I use this for sweet baking if I'm doing like pastries and I want a lavender flavored pastry cream, or I'll do like a lavender syrup for lemonade or tea. I also grow lavender in my garden, in my herb garden, but I mostly grow it to be pretty, though it is perfectly edible. I just don't grow enough of it to really use. It's got a light floral flavor. Yes, it can be a little bit potpourri-y or soapy if you overdo it. But I really like it. I like it in candy. I like it in pastries. I mostly like it in sweet things. Lavender lemonade is gorgeous. Next. What are you? Ah! This is za'atar. And this has very quickly become one of my favorite spice mixes. I think I've spoken about za'atar on the channel before, and I know I've given a list of what's in it. I don't want to mess that up, so I'm going to look it again. Okay. Za'atar has thyme, oregano, marjoram, sesame seeds, cumin, and sumac in it. So it's kind of got a really unique flavor to it, and it's worth trying. Where is za'atar from? And za'atar's origins are from the Middle East. So at least in the part of America where I am, Middle Eastern cuisine is not super prevalent. This was a lovely way to dip my toe into some of those flavors. Caraway. I bought this. I don't think I ever ended up using it. I am 90% sure that I bought this to make pumpernickel bread. I love pumpernickel bread. One of these days I will make pumpernickel bread. If I didn't buy that to make bread, I bought it to make pickles. Either way, I don't think I ever actually used it. Let's look up what some common uses are. Professor Google is playing a big part in today's video, isn't he? Caraway is used for the flavoring in rye bread, which is why I wanted to use it to make bread. I'm getting all kinds of nutritional uses. I need culinary uses. Here we go. It can be used in sauerkraut or with cabbage. That actually sounds like it could be really good. In authentic Hungarian goulash. It can be used in some curries or in potato salad. Ooh, I could see that being good in potato salad too. Well, now I've got some ideas as well as hopefully you, so maybe I'll use some of those ideas. What are you? What are you? That one I wanted to talk about. Okay, these two I wanted to talk about together. These are not really advanced spices. They're just something I don't use. I don't reach for. They were given to me. Again, like I mentioned in the very first one of these videos, people seem to have a tendency to give me their entire spice rack. And that's what happened here. This is celery salt, and this is celery seed. I don't like celery. Occasionally, when I'm making soups or stews, I'll chop up some celery incredibly finely because I do recognize that it adds a flavor component that nothing else really does. But I hate the texture. I hate the texture raw. I hate the texture cooked. And as a dominant flavor, not a fan. If I'm going to put it in something, it's going to be like a quarter of the amount that the recipe calls for, chopped into minuscule pieces, because I just want a little bit of it. Little bit of it. And, okay, occasionally, if I don't have actual celery in my fridge or freezer, and I'm making chicken noodle soup, I'll add in a pinch of celery seed. It'll give me the same thing. But, and there's nothing else really that gives you that flavor. Celery seed, I would also maybe put into coleslaw or potato salad or maybe even pickles. But it's just really, in my kitchen, it's really pretty specialized and limited in what I would use it for. Fennel. I don't know why I bought this. And I can tell you I've used it twice. I used it the first time when I was making, I do not remember what dish it was. I know it was sausage. And I had thawed out the wrong sausage. I thawed out breakfast sausage. And what I wanted was Italian sausage. So rather than thawing out some Italian sausage and then having breakfast sausage to deal with, I just threw some fennel in the breakfast sausage as I was cooking it. And it worked out just fine because I don't get the breakfast sausage that's like infused with maple. It was a pretty basic breakfast sausage. So adding the fennel gave me kind of a mild Italian sausage flavor. It wasn't as intense as if I had used actual Italian sausage, but frankly, I kind of liked that because for me, Italian sausage can be a little intense. But all of that to basically get to what the flavor of fennel is that dominant flavor in Italian sausage. It's a little bit licoricey, and I don't typically care for it on its own, but Italian sausage would not be what it is without fennel. And the last seasoning we have here, probably my second favorite seasoning of this group. And this is something you've also seen me use a couple of times on the channel. This is tomato powder. And frankly, I don't know if you can buy this in a store. I've never bought this in a store. I can and preserve a bunch of my own tomato products. Tomato sauce, salsa, crushed tomatoes, things like that. And one of the steps in that is to take the skins and the seeds off the tomatoes. So then I get this whole big bowl of tomato skins, and you know I hate food waste around here. If you throw those tomato skins into a dehydrator, let them get nice and super dry, and then put them in a food processor, you get tomato powder. And this is good for an extra tomato burst of flavor in sauces, or it's fun to like sprinkle on to baked potatoes or French fries if you want that tomato flavor, or you can even use it as a seasoning on like meat if you want some tomato flavor, but you don't want them to be in a tomato sauce. So this stuff is really versatile and kind of fun to experiment with. Yeah, this stuff can be really versatile if you get just a little bit creative with it. And I don't know that I reach for it incredibly often, but it is kind of fun to use. But that is all we have for today. We have gotten through all 10 of today's spices. And I do have one more episode planned for this Let's Talk Spices series, because if you've noticed, we haven't really dealt with any kind of hot things. So if you could give the video a thumbs up and hit subscribe if you haven't already, I'd really appreciate it, and then you won't miss that hot and spicy video. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye!